obviously, is Governor Christie from the fine state of New Jersey, joining us out of Iowa right now. I believe you're just opening up offices in Johnston there, Governor?
Yes, sir, Neil. Opened up our statewide campaign headquarters in Johnston, Iowa today.
All right, congratulations on that. Governor, I was thinking of you when I heard about this viral stuff with the video. I had no idea what that meant until I was hearing about the reaction you were getting from your town hall comments, which were riveting, where you talked about the, addiction, all of it. But more to your point about the Republican Party obsessed with how you fare for the 9 months you're in the womb, but discussing a little what you do after that. I thought it was very telling. It might explain some of the surge you've seen going on in New Hampshire. But to viral videos themselves, Governor, whether it involves a discussion there or something very emotional or a discussion that I had on this show that concerned more economic brass tacks, what do you make of that as a new communication, a new way that reaches out to voters, even if completely unintended?
Well, Neil, I can tell you that, I just look at my children. I have a 22-year-old son in college and a 19-year-old daughter in college. And this is the way they communicate. This is the way they get their news. This is the way they get their information, and this is the way they talk to their friends. And so certainly the millennials believe that this is the way to communicate with folks, and it's extraordinarily powerful. And you could see from the reaction you've gotten just to your video, 2.2 million people viewing them already on Facebook. That's extraordinary when you think about what the daily ratings are for different programs. The fact is that's a lot of people across this country to see something. 8.1 million people now, I think, having looked at the addiction video that was put up about me. This is a powerful way to communicate, and all of us are adjusting ourselves to this new way.
Well, it certainly opened up a new vantage point that we didn't appreciate in looking at who is commanding voters' attention. I don't think polls reflect that. And I'm wondering, because polls so far have not really had a chance to measure the magnitude or the impact of Donald Trump's remarks about, and I'm quoting here, Governor, how stupid Iowa voters are in putting someone like a Ben Carson very high on their preference list, when, of course, he was talking about Carson and his various, pathological issues. I could go on and on. You're familiar with this. Most people are familiar with this. Do you think that's the kind of stuff that will boomerang on Donald Trump?
Well, listen, let me make a general statement of political principle, Neil. It never helps, I think, to have people that you're asking to vote for you, to have you call them stupid. I don't think that's groundbreaking political analysis, but it's the truth. And I've said all along that, everybody who runs for president, you're responsible for the words that come out of your mouth. And I don't think people are going to appreciate those words.
You have said before that although you like Donald Trump, he doesn't have the comportment or the background to handle the kind of job he's looking for the presidency. He flipped it around recently in an interview, Governor, saying that if it came to looking at running mates, you'd be among those he'd look at. He thinks a lot of you and thinks that you would be an attractive candidate. Are you guys on the same page?
Well, listen, I think a lot of Donald, as I've said before, Donald and I have been friends for 13 years. What I've said to him, though, is I don't think that his skills are best suited for the presidency. And the example I use all the time is if the Speaker of the House wouldn't post the bill he wanted, you can't fire him. And you have to learn how to work this system and work it well. That's what I've done in New Jersey as governor for 6 years with a lot of success. And that's what I would have to do as president, what I would do, and I'm trained to do as president. So I just think I'm the better trained person for the job that we're applying for. But you're not exactly shy about being blunt yourself, right? No, I'm not shy. You know that, Neil. All right. Let me ask you, I just want to get your opinion on other things that have gone on today, Governor. One, from Jennifer Lawrence, the very popular actress, really disparaging Republicans in comments in Vogue magazine, saying, among other things, Governor, I was raised a Republican, but I just can't imagine supporting a party that doesn't support women's basic rights. It's 2015 and gay people can get married, and we think that we've come so far, so yay, but have we? I don't want to stay quiet about that stuff by inference Republicans. What do you think of that? Well, listen, she's entitled to her opinion. I just think she's wrong. And the fact is that our party absolutely believes in the rights of every woman. And let's look at the proof of it. Nikki Haley, the governor of South Carolina, Susana Martinez, the governor of New Mexico, Mary Fallin, the governor of Oklahoma, Kelly Ayotte, one of the leading Republicans in the country, United States Senator from New Hampshire. Quite frankly, when you look at the record, the Republican Party has given opportunity to many more women than the Democratic Party has. And so, she's entitled to her opinion. I just think she's dead wrong.
All right. Now, you did very well with female voters in your re-election 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago this week. You scored 48% of the Hispanic vote, more than 20% of the black vote. Those are alien concepts to many Republicans. You have had rough times in the state since. But how do you make that pitch when Donald Trump is stealing all the oxygen?
Well, because I'm not Donald Trump. And I think that as this race gets closer and closer to actual people going into caucuses and caucusing and going into voting booths and voting in New Hampshire, they're going to really look at not only who can go and shake up Washington, but who can then rebuild it after you shake it up. Who's got the experience, the temperament, the maturity, and who's been tested. And I think when they look at those questions, they're going to see that a guy who's been tested in the toughest, most liberal media market in America for the last 13 years, somebody who has been tested by a Democratic legislature and has succeeded, and someone who has been tested by a state, as you know, Neil, that is a great state, but is often a bit unruly to try to govern. That's the kind of person they want to send to Washington, D.C. to get the job done, and I think that's where we'll make the difference.
Yeah, memory serves me right. It does tip slightly blue. But let me get a thought. That there are polls, more recent polls, Governor, and a lot of your fellow governors are dealing with this, where you're not as popular as you were. When New Jerseyans was recently polled as their Republican preference for president, you were, I think, fourth. A lot of them think that you should be focusing and staying back home. How do you address that?
I don't blame them. Listen, they're entitled to their view. And you see this happen in most of the states where sitting governors decide to run for president. Folks would rather have you stay home. But I was very open, as you know, with the voters of New Jersey in 2013. I was asked repeatedly whether I would rule out running for president of the United States, and I said I would not. And so even though I said that, 61% of the people in the state voted to re-elect me, 51% of Hispanics, 57% of women. So I got broad support then. And listen, whenever you're looking for another job, your current employer can get a little miffed at times. I understand that. But I'm term limited in New Jersey. I want to be president of the United States. I was open with the voters about that. And we're moving towards trying to be elected president of the United States.
Governor, now you're going to be going to this Sunshine Summit in Florida. And talk about a guy with a tough love message in a state where Social Security is near and dear and a dominant issue. Here you are, one of the few, I think one of only two really, who's woken up to the fact that Social Security, as we know, is not really sustainable. You called it as it is, but for that you've had to face a hell of a lot of controversy. And I wonder how you think that is going to go down, not as if you've been a stranger to Florida. When you talk to certainly a lot of folks there, retirees among them, that you're the guy who's going to destroy it. That's how your critics portray it. How do you convince them that that's not what you're up to?
Well, because what I'm going to tell them is that if we follow the advice of the other candidates on the stage for the Republicans, or certainly the presumptive Democratic nominee, Hillary Clinton, that Social Security will be insolvent in 7 to 8 years. That's based on a Harvard-Dartmouth study that was just put out a few months ago. The fact is that inaction is not an option here. And what I want to do is save Social Security for everybody. But we're going to have to change it. We're living longer. We're living better lives. That's a blessing. But we need to raise the retirement age in order to deal with that. And we need to decide
would you do that?
Whether or not...
I'm sorry, Governor. How would you do that, the age raising thing?
I'd raise the retirement age 2 years and phase it in over the next 25 years. That means it would go up 1 month a year for 25 years in terms of the eligibility. So no one's being thrown off the cliff. No one who's near or in Social Security right now would be affected at all. But it would affect, Neil, it would affect our children. And we need to have a more solvent system for them, because a lot of them right now are getting ready to pay or are paying into that system, believe that they're chumps. They believe they're never going to get a nickel out of Social Security. We have to turn that attitude around. And that's the first thing. Second thing is, I said for folks who have $4 or $5 million saved and make over $200,000 a year in retirement income, do they really need a Social Security check? Will that change their lifestyle? Because the alternative is to drastically raise taxes on everyone for Social Security. That's what Hillary Clinton is going to propose. I don't think that we should give the government that's already lied to us and stolen from the Social Security Trust Fund more of our money. We should give less benefits on the back end to those who don't need it. people who have millions of dollars saved and who make over $200,000 a year in retirement income.
All right, so a lot of the crowd you'll be addressing tomorrow, I imagine, in Florida, fit that bill.
Well, and if they do, they need to hear the truth from the person who wants to be the president of the United States. And what they should hold the other folks to is, what are you going to do? It's not good enough to just say, well, we'll do nothing, because doing nothing will affect people who are on Social Security now. They will lose their Social Security if we do nothing. What I'm proposing to do is to save Social Security for all those people who really need it, for the people who it makes a difference between rent and heat and food. Those people need to be protected. And they've worked hard and played by the rules and paid into the system. For those who have been very fortunate in this country, worked hard and been extraordinarily successful, I don't believe that they are going to be angry about having to walk away from a Social Security check once a month when it really won't change their lifestyle at all, if they know that the result will be that that system will be solvent for those who need it and solvent for their children and grandchildren.
How is money in the campaign doing? Obviously, you have enough to open this office. How are you doing on that?
We're doing okay, Neil. You know, and in fact, in the last 3 weeks, we've been doing better than we've done before. When I was sent down to the other debate, that week was our best week of online financing and fundraising of the entire campaign, because people really felt like that was an unfair decision. And so we wound up getting a lot more support online than we've gotten throughout the entire campaign. So fundraising is going well. It's always a slog. It's always difficult. But we're doing what we need to do to be able to be competitive in the race.
And well, by all reviews, you won that one pretty handily. Let me get your thought. Why Iowa and not New Hampshire, where you're truly surging?
Well, listen, we already have a headquarters open in New Hampshire, Neil. We opened that one up a few weeks ago. We're now opening up our campaign headquarters in Iowa, and I want to do well in both states.
Okay.
Because if I do well in both states, I'm going to be the Republican nominee for president, and I'm going to be on that stage next September taking on Hillary Clinton. And I think the people in your audience know that there's no one more tested, more ready to prosecute the case against Hillary Clinton than a former federal prosecutor and who's now been the governor of New Jersey. That's what we want to do, keep our eye on the ball. This is all about beating Hillary Clinton, because there's no silver medals in this business, Neil. Either you win or you go home, and I intend to win.
Governor Chris Christie, thank you very, very much.